Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, cool. So, there we go. Right?
Yeah.
3, 2.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. This is Frank Bryant over here at Medicare Gurus, and coming to you for another dojo. Here we get together with people that are on our live sales floor during our lunch period and talk about sales and talk about issues that our agents are facing. This is an open format, so you're going to hear exactly what people are going through and how we address it and how we talk about it. Also, you'll see people going in and leaving at random times because, well, they got business to write. So without further ado, hey, how's it going? So without further ado, let's get started. So, guys, what's going on?
Well, just coming back from a 3-day weekend, so just trying to put the pieces back together.
Yeah.
Some good things
How do we
happening.
pump ourselves up after a long weekend? Just
Oh.
time to get out now.
I've got a referral at 1:00. We'll see what happens with that. But handling some customer service. Learned a few new things today about Part D and Advantage plans. I guess when people move, we were always under the assumption that, hey, they're going to lose their drug plan. You got to get them at all. And evidently, that's not really the case. If they can get the same plan, with the same company in their new location, they just have to call the company and say, hey, here's my new address.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's no longer available, then you have to make that switch. So,
Might be an old habit from when places it was a lot more regionalized, and now the players
exactly.
all over, and they can give you so to keep the exact same plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be the exact same plan, not just the same carrier. You just tell them your address.
Exact same thing.
Exact same plan in the new location.
And the same thing with Advantage plans too.
Right.
It's based off the plan code,
Yeah.
the S or the H code that's on there.
Right.
Yeah. So
I learned something new today with that, because that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be GI, if they move. I always had that assumption in the past. So,
Frank, what do you do to pump yourself up after a long weekend?
I get up extra early.
Yeah?
Yeah, the day after, or like if we're having it's not too bad if it's a 3-day weekend, but it's really bad if you come back off vacation and you're gone for like a week, or if you went to a conference and you're gone, then you're just absolutely. It's one of the things that's happened is it's about the activity that you're doing, right? If you go to a conference or something like that, you're constantly working. It might seem like you're having fun, but really you're working.
On stage.
Right. And a 3-day weekend, especially being a single guy, I can just kind of relax and chill. So I just get up extra early to give myself extra time and be ready mentally. But I've seen it, and back when I was married and stuff, having events and families, people don't realize that if you're around family and you're doing all this other stuff, you're still working. You're just working on something else. So you can easily be just as exhausted after a week-long vacation as you can be after a week's worth of work. So just give yourself that extra day and that extra time. Coming into the office, you just got to be in your own head, because you can't really depend on everyone being rested. So you just have to bring a little bit more energy and joke around a little bit more to try to bring people up, because some people are just dead tired after a vacation.
To me, it's just jumping back in the pool, man, as fast as possible.
Right.
Right?
I want to talk to people right away.
Yeah.
That just puts me right.
Because you're in one frame of mind, you're unplugged. You get plugged back in. But if you sit there, okay, well, what you try to overthink. Get on the phone, jump on the phone. Once you're 5 minutes into that conversation, you're back at work.
Right.
That's exactly for me too. And I'm ready. Yeah.
that's what works out with us very well is the birthday calls. We start off, of course, I had a few things I had to handle with clients. Anyway, they're calling me first. But you just get into that mode. You get on the phone, get the conversations rolling, and it's like nothing's changed.
Yeah, for people who don't know, as a matter of routine, as for many years now, we've called all of our clients on their birthdays, and we started doing that first thing in the morning just to warm up. So we're not burning big, expensive leads and stuff like that, while we're still kind of need our first cup of coffee.
Right.
And so we call it stretching our sales muscles. We do that. So that helps right away. It's just, if you don't go in the break room, get a cup of coffee, and you don't go around and you don't try to see what was on the news, or, find out how everyone's weekend was, find that at some other time after you made a sale. Get that first sale under your belt.
Yep. And jumping in is really important. Like this morning, as soon as we were done with the meeting, people were already on the phone. I mean, and our meetings are short now. We went through that phase where we had like 30, 40-minute meetings. And it's like, this isn't working. But those 5-minute pump-up meetings, they really get it happening.
Yeah.
So, and there's a difference. There's a big difference in the levels of accomplishment that occur. Like if it's development, and IT, content, conversion, all these other things, they have longer term projects and things are going on. But on a sales team, I could be doing and accomplishing my mission and my goal within an hour. It's not a week-long process. So it's really important just to get them on the phone quickly. So,
Yeah.
So what's going on with Medicare this year? What are the changes that we see upcoming? I know there's the new final ruling on recording conversations, things like that. I mean, everyone that I've talked to is kind of worried about that. It doesn't affect us. It affects us, but like we already compliant and all that, and we'll help other people be. But have y'all heard any new things coming up with Medicare? Any controversies or things coming up?
not really.
It seemed like just wait till October 1st. Like,
Yeah. I mean, we won't
Everything
know.
else?
We won't know anything like with the Advantage Plan world until really October or late September.
the actual plans.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
Frank, you looked into that one thing where Jacob found where you have to say on the recording, there may be other plans available that we don't offer
Mhm.
that are better. Do you have to say that? I think you looked up.
it has to be at one point, the way it's currently written right now. And again, that might change because again, these final rulings, they change. Number one, it's about CMS regulated plans. So if you're talking about Medicare supplement, it's still not a CMS regulated plan. Number two, so our conversations all start off with subs anyway, because that's the original intent. We try to get people with the highest level of coverage that suits them. With other ones that are out there, if you're switching onto that, you're going to see a lot of carriers start putting that in the scope of appointment. It should already be on a lot of people's websites. As long as it's disclosed inside of the chain of that conversation, you should be okay, and it should be recorded that it occurred. Some of the stuff that they're putting out there for some of these other centers, though, I think I saw one where there's an interpretation, like within 2 minutes, you have to make that disclosure. I'm like, well, that's a great way to start a conversation. So
Well, even if you there's only one plan in the area and you rep that one,
right.
that's some of the problems they have with it. There's one plan available in your area, and I have to say that there are other plans available in your area, even though it's not true. And then I don't know if I'm allowed to say I have to say this and it's actually not true or not.
Right. Right. And some of the language is prohibitive to everybody because there are certain carriers where either you're only selling for them and only them or nothing at all. A good example, like USAA. If you're not in their San Antonio call center, you're not working for USAA. So then every agent's going to have to do this, according to that reg. That's also, again, why we recommend going with supplements, because they're the best level of coverage you can get. And they're not subject to that compliance and regulatory stuff. But once we transition and once you have that stuff inside of the Advantage Plan conversation, it has to be in there.
So why do people sell so many Medicare Advantage if supplements are the best?
Well, number one, the marketing is absolutely huge for Medicare Advantage because, let's be honest, the insurance carriers and healthcare companies make a lot more money on an Advantage plan. People go, oh, it's only the $170 premium. But in fact, it's also the capitation rate, which can range from about $900 to $1,400 to $1,600, $1,400 or $1,600 per person per month. And that's what they're operating off of, and they don't have to give it back. So, you see these things where like Joe Namath and, JJ Walker and all these other guys come on there, which, by the way, they don't have that, right? They're turning around and able to spend that money and those dollars on that to get get those people on there. Another factor is for Medicaid dual eligibles and SLMB people. If I'm offering a $0 plan that's making so much money off capitation rate that they're able to give back or credit back, they're able to take that money and credit back to other people because of the amount that they're getting from Medicaid. it's just a big draw, and that's a big animal to really fight against.
So you're saying the carriers are pushing it more?
Oh, absolutely. Carrier's been pushing that more for years and years and years. Since, I mean, when did I started with
Is that easier to sell?
Man, you'll
I can
sell
answer
a
that.
lot more of them. Oh, go ahead.
So just to add on to what that is to answer your question, the reason that people are familiar with Medicare Advantage plans is because the model of a Medicare Advantage plan is very similar to what they've had in their employment. You know, the benefits are similar, the billing and claims filing is very similar. So when people are talking to them, whether it is their HRA or their benefits coordinator, they're like, yeah, they transition them to a Medicare Advantage plan. And the mindset is it's going to be a seamless transition because it's the same thing. You'll pay your copays, you have your network. Oh, great, that's so easy for me. And then we come along and we say, okay, are you familiar with how Medicare works? Yeah, and they tell you how Medicare Advantage plan works. And you want to say, yeah, that's just a part of how Medicare works. Did you know, and then you go into the details of how Medicare was set up, that you don't have to worry about this anymore. You don't have to worry about copays or deductibles or any of that anymore. Everything is granted to you because one, you earned it. You've been paying into it your whole life. And two, the design of it is for you to have all the freedom and the flexibility for whatever happens to you. You are fully covered. And a lot of times when you show people that, it can be overwhelming. They don't believe it. I mean, no lie. You probably talk to people all the time. When you start talking to them about who've been, and I won't say brainwashed,
Right.
but they're just, myopic and seeing how the Medicare Advantage plan works is so similar to their current plan that when you come in and say to them, no, this is how Medicare, you earned this and this is what you get, they're going to be incredulous because there's no way, that's impossible. You mean you tell me that I could go to the doctor whenever I want, wherever I want, and I just pay this premium and I don't have to worry about bills ever again? Are you serious? Yeah. There's a lot of incredulity with it,
Right.
but it's not. And to answer your question, is it hard to sell? No, it's a different beast. You just have to discover where they're coming from to figure out, what is going to best suit them, and then explain to them in what we do best in our script. This is what you have earned in your life, and this is what it's going to look like with your Medicare and a supplement.
One question I like to lead in with Advantage plans too, with that is, talking about just a regular Advantage, sorry, coming in later. I asked them, are you using your Medicare? Because a lot of times go, well, yeah. And I go, well, no, you're not. You have an Advantage plan. You're basically just throwing money at Medicare in order to have a right to that plan. So you're paying for it, but you're not using it. And a lot of those people in that case too, where if they're coming off of work coverage, they'll put them into it because it's very similar. They don't know the other side of Medicare because nobody's ever taught them.
Yeah.
They don't know that, oh, Medicare actually is insurance.
Yeah.
Oh, that can actually be a primary. That can be all of my insurance if I just have A and B. But those people don't know that because
Right.
guess what? There's not a commercial on TV saying you can just have Medicare and a supplement. You can just have Medicare. But there's a commercial telling them, no, you need this Advantage plan.
Most people listen to their friends more
Yeah.
than they do experts.
Advantage plan, by the way, go ahead.
Yeah, they, what happens all the time, and I probably had to switch 6 people this year that, well, I'm going to try it for this year. Yeah, I know I've got the 1 year to try it out and everything, and I'm okay. Guess what? They have a surgery. They're paying $300 a day in the hospital. Brad, can I get my supplement back? And we get it back for them. But, it's a lot of headache on our side too, but it just goes to show you how people can get swayed easily, not only through advertisements, but from their friends who have Advantage plans. And maybe they worked out well. Certain people, they're great. Some area,
Right.
Florida,
They
the
worked out well 'cause
villages,
They don't use them hardly.
Yeah, or, you go to Kelsey Care, one of these clinics that they have their own Advantage plan. That's all they use and that's all you're going to go to and never going to move or go anywhere. But it's a dangerous option. You really have to weigh the two options and you have to explain to the client, here's what you're looking at. You do realize every time you lower down your premium, you're assuming more risk. You're taking on something that there's a danger involved. And for seniors, most seniors, including myself, we don't like a lot of hassles. We don't like cable companies. We don't like to deal with anything like that and cell phone people. We like a turnkey deal. And when we go to the doctor, we don't want to get a bunch of paperwork that we have to, go back and forth with. So I know Advantage plans have their place, especially with DSNPs, that people are getting additional benefit. And for some areas of the country, they work great. But for the most part, our whole history has been such.
Is it fair to compare a Medicare supplement and an Advantage plan?
No. In fact, that's why you have to do a scope of appointment to delineate that there will be a separation of the two. Like you have to outline. There's so many pitfalls to Advantage plans. You actually have to send a document to get permission to talk about Advantage plans. I mean, and for the government to actually mandate that means, because let's face it, the government's not great at going, hey, let's be like insightful on anything. But it happened enough to where people thought they were getting supplements and they actually got a new Advantage plan and it really hurt them. So no, there's a world of difference. It's a different animal.
But I think most people come out and they say, okay, well, the people who know their options, most people are now, it's becoming, let me get a Medicare plan. They don't know it's a Medicare Advantage and that there's a choice between traditional A, B, and C. They're not told that. It's just get a Medicare plan. Do you want Humana, Aetna, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who do know, they say, if you look at most search things in Google, it's Medicare supplement versus Medicare Advantage.
Right.
Things like that. They're looking at that and they say, well, the Medicare supplement costs $180 a month and the Advantage costs way less or is free. So this should be much better, right? I want the free and whatever else. Well, okay, I got a $15 copay, but I don't go to the doctor 12 times a month, which would be my break-even point. So is that apples? Is that apples and orange trees?
The whole thing is this: the way that we do things here, we're able to decipher what they need. And it's like what Brad said and what Penny was saying. Like, if we're going to do like a disparity between the two, the Medicare supplement is a far superior product. It's a far superior product, hands down. But that's not what we're talking about with our clients. We're talking about what suits their needs best. You may be in a situation where a supplement is ideally for you, but you have to decide whether to pay premium or pay for groceries. It's our job to figure out what they need, because we know what the better product is and we know the ways that Medicare works, whether if they're open enrollment or if there's a guarantee issue situation or whatever the case may be. It is our job to figure out, okay, we definitely want to get them in a sub. And that is, we always lead with sub all the time, but we're also doing our due diligence to figure out, okay, is this the best product for you? Because I don't want to put you in something and you end up dropping it 2 months later because you can't afford it.
Here's the biggest thing though. When people ask if it's the easier thing to sell, right? The question is not a matter of what's easier to sell. The question is on whether or not we're good enough agents and we're good enough salespeople to lead people through a process of making a decision. And the problem is that the vast majority of people out there suck at sales. They're bad at it.
Especially education.
Okay.
Especially Medicare.
And they go, oh, well, free plan. And the problem is they don't actually build an avatar of who they're talking to. They go, I'm 30 years old and I don't go see the doctor. Zero premium is the best thing. Well, I'll tell you what, it's also zero premium. Not having a Medicare Advantage plan.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, let's be completely honest with it. And anyone that's been a little bit older in life goes, you get nothing for free.
Yeah.
You get nothing at all for free. And if something's free, it's probably costing me.
Here's a line from Mr. Jenkins. Again, to everybody watching, listen to people around you.
Right.
Because they usually come up with some pretty cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As Brad Jenkins says, and this is exactly what I say on the phone. He goes, Brad Jenkins has been doing this about as long as anybody I know. Cheese in the rat trap is always free.
That's right.
That's an advantage.
That's right.
Cheese in the rat trap is always free.
So I talked to a guy, and I won't go into where because I don't want to shame anyone, but it's amazing the amount of brain power people will put out to justify a bad decision. They will commit to it fully and then they will shut their brain down. And that includes agents. I had an agent literally sit there and tell me I just don't believe in Medicare supplements. They're not a good thing for the client. I go, well, are you talking to no one but people that are Medicaid eligible? Because I'll tell you right now, as someone that's in your late 20s that hasn't had to go see a doctor or go to get a surgery or something, you are missing a big problem here. And especially with people on a fixed income, $7,000 of out-of-pocket expenses or the lack of ability to go to a specialist who will actually fix you is a big problem. So if you're just looking at prices, that's great. But I'm telling you right now, especially with these heat deals that are coming out from the Advantage Plan providers, there's a lot of people out there that are focusing solely on D-SNP or solely on this or not doing any supplements. And they're taking heat deals because they think that fast money is good money. And they're just cannibalizing their book. And they're not growing anything. And they're doing it because they always consistently go, it's $0. It's $0. It's a $0 PPO. It's this. Well, guess what, man? If that's what your skill level is, you might as well just set up a website and try to enroll people without talking to them. Oh, wait, you can't. So you better get good.
What's the best alternative to an Advantage Plan?
The best alternative to an Advantage Plan for anyone that's not actually qualifying for Medicaid then would be a high deductible G plan.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it. I mean, you want to more than half the actual out-of-pocket expense and have all the freedom to go see whoever the hell you want. That's it. I
And
mean,
they stay with those plans.
oh, the
And
retention
the
on
rates
it.
hardly ever go up.
The retention on a high deductible G plan, because it's incredibly high because the rates don't go up because they're not paying constantly for incidental little maintenance stuff. And I mean, yeah, it's not sexy. It's like $30 and the commission on it's lower. It's not, and here's the secret. It's not as much commission for a high deductible G plan, especially in the immediate term, than it is for a Medicare Advantage plan. However, if we're going to have a conversation about what's best for a client and how to make a client your client forever, then you better be looking at that.
Right.
Because otherwise, and by the way, if you know what's out there, you just watch this video right now and you go, well, I didn't know about that. Well, you know now. So you better start looking into it because it is a better option for your client.
I want to take it a little further. If you can't afford it, forget prescription drugs. Take that, let's shelve that for a little while. Just medical care. You can't afford a Medicare supplement premium. Are you better off with A and B alone than with a Medicare Advantage plan?
No.
The majority of people, yes.
Why?
Because the limitations that can be set forth on Advantage plans outside of like really, really liberal PPO organizations, which don't exist everywhere, then Medicare by itself as a provider fee for service ends up being a higher level of coverage. And the deductibles and copays on a Medicare A and B by itself are often better than what you're going to find with an Advantage plan. When you're looking at the average primary care doctor's visit of $103, what's 20% of $103? Right?
Mhm.
And then you have an Advantage plan that can have a $25 primary care visit. So it's an incidental thing. So there's a lot of people that are better off on Medicare A and B by itself. Maybe getting a high deductible G plan is great at that point, just throwing it out there. But there's also a lot of people out there, and like the majority of people we're talking to right now, they're Medicaid qualified. We're in the middle of the year.
Oh, that's different. Yes.
Yeah, Medicaid, we got to take Medicaid out of there because Medicaid is, they're paying all the copays and deductibles for you.
That's different.
But just a non-Medicaid person that's in reasonably good health, I would go with a Medicare A and B by
You
itself.
know, you were talking about commissions earlier too. When you look at the persistency on a high deductible plan versus an Advantage plan, you're going to have that plan probably for the full term.
Right.
They never change them.
Right. And
You know,
do you want to rewrite the same person over and over
I want
again?
to hear why you think a Medicare Advantage is better than
What I was gonna ask.
than A and B. I think this should be explored.
One is the exposure. You have something. I mean, the reason that we get insurance is risk prevention. It's risk mitigation. You are leaving a 20% exposure like you would for a Plan N.
Mhm.
Only it's even worse because you have to pay 20% of everything.
Right.
With an Advantage plan, regardless of network restrictions, has a cap. It has a MOOP. It's a max amount of pocket. So you can change out every year. So I see a Medicare Advantage plan as if
Well,
you
it's an
have,
annual out of pocket anyway.
what's that? Correct. Yeah, it's an annual out of pocket, right? So you have a protection there of seeing a doctor in network. You have a maximum out of pocket for the year that it protects you, and it can be reevaluated at the end of the year based on personal circumstances of getting money and having them learn, okay, does this work for me? Does this Advantage plan work for me? Or do I need to revisit getting back on A and B with a high deductible? Because if you're talking to somebody right now, I'm not having them walk away with nothing. I'm either going to get them an Advantage plan if I can get them, or I'm going to get them a high deductible.
What about an indemnity then?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but just to wrap up this point, I cannot leave them exposed with just A and B.
All right.
That's my
So
thoughts.
A and B, what's your exposure? You got the hospital deductible.
Correct.
You got 20% outpatient.
Correct.
You got co-payments after 60 days.
Correct.
Excess charges.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
All right. So if I'm on a fixed income, I live on Social Security, I don't have much savings or
Right.
anything real and whatever else. And I get cancer, do I want to go to find the best cancer specialist that works on my specific type of cancer in the whole country and give me a chance to stay alive? Or do I want to call my insurance company and say, well, where will you treat me?
Mm-hmm.
Where will you do me? I hope they're there,
Mhm.
right? Now, is there value in the ability to go to that specific place without worrying about the cost involved? Because if you are in a network and you go out of the network, it's not going to be covered at all, right?
Unless it's a PPO.
Right.
Right.
Then it's going to be covered at a much higher rate, right?
Correct.
And in practicality, everyone's going to say they're not going to understand that they can go and pay the difference. They're going to say, are you in network? No, I can't go.
Mhm.
That's what they're going to believe at the time that this happens. And they're not going to call us specifically at that time, probably, for us to counsel them through it and all of that. So let's admit that there's value here.
Mhm.
Now, I can go, any person on Medicare, A and B, can go get treatment at any doctor, hospital, anywhere in the country, and they will not be turned down.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
If they go in the hospital for 6 months, they're way past the 60 days, they get into daily co-payments, they get into all this, they maximize their lifetime reserve days at 515 days, and they stay an extra year in the hospital, they owe the hospital $5 million.
Mhm.
Well, what do they do about that $5 million? Nothing. They pay them $5 a month or whatever, and then they die and it's all gone. And those things get written off eventually, right? So if you really look at it, I mean, one thing you're doing when you get into a network of a Medicare Advantage plan is you're saying, I am giving up my ability to go anywhere I want that accepts Medicare. And so now what's the price for that? What's the price for that? Now, I can go get coverage. No one's going to turn you away to get treatment and all that. You may have some bills. Now, then that's a whole other consideration, especially if you have assets and other things to worry about. But for your average person who doesn't, well, that's a big thing. Now, the other side of that is, will your client actually go find the best treatment center in the world for that specific type? Because a lot of times you give people options and they're like, no, I'm going to go to this hospital because my grandma went to this hospital. My mom went to this hospital and they treat me good and no matter what. And that hospital will never turn you away and say, we're not the best experts at this. If they also treat that type of thing, they will do their best there. They won't turn the business away. So are they savvy enough to do it? What do y'all think about that? Because this is the real landscape of the practicality of getting treatment and debt and all of that after the insurance.
Do you really want your insurance company dictating on what sort of treatments you're going to have? Because we hear that too. We just had it earlier in the year. Lady had a Blue Cross MA, needed to have an MRI. Doctor says, I think I saw something there. You need to check it out. Blue Cross says, no, you don't need that. We're not paying for that.
Yeah.
So they have the complete right to do that. And there again lies the danger. You're limiting, your potential health care. And it's just dangerous.
So your doctor says you need an MRI so we can find it out, and Blue Cross says no, you
Yeah,
don't
it's
get
too
it.
much money. You don't need it.
And so if you want it anyway, then what do you have to do to get it? You have to
You
pay
gotta
out
pay
of
for
pocket. You have to pay out of pocket.
There's also the other factor, like what Group was saying earlier too, is, and this is one of my underlying principles of it, I could always on an annual basis get an Advantage plan. So if stuff starts going up and bills start coming up on Medicare and I'm no longer healthy enough to be on Medicare A and B alone because I'm starting to encounter excess charges at 20%, things of that nature, then I'll get you an Advantage plan. And then Once you're clear of it, if you get clear of it, that allows me to go find you one that actually takes the doctors that you've already decided on. And if they don't take Advantage plans, which is a big deal, right? A lot of doctors, every couple of years we hear this. Doctors are leaving Medicare left and right. The amount of doctors that are switching off Medicare plans has hit a record high. Well, they're not leaving Medicare A and B. They're leaving Medicare Advantage plans. And that's what gets reported when they say, oh, 120,000 doctors left Medicare. No, they didn't. They just stopped taking United Healthcare or Anthem or whatever's out there. And they just compile that together and scare people. 96% of specialists, which is basically everyone except for full cosmetic surgeons and pediatricians, take Medicare. 89% of family doctors take Medicare, right? And that has been holding true since around the time when I started on an annual basis. It hasn't really changed. So for me,
Is it only 89% of family doctors? That seems kind of low. I mean, I don't doubt your numbers, but I would guess there's something I'm
they're not
seeing.
saying, maybe not family doctors, but I know it is
I've heard it twice.
GPs.
Yeah.
It's GPs, general
Yeah.
practitioners.
Okay, so it's not been, obviously there's some specialties and stuff
Right.
like that where they're.
Right.
Wanna
A lot
charge
of
more
your,
money.
well, like a lot of your family doctors happen to be specialists as well. So, but if you're in the specialty world, which is what people, that's the expensive stuff. Your specialist is the expensive stuff. That's Medicare. I mean, unless you're a pediatrician, which let's face it, children aren't on Medicare. So I just, for me, and by the way, it's a different value proposition for each one of us. I'm in the Medicare world. I make great money. I'm also about risk mitigation. That's one of the things that are out there. And a lot of people that have money, they're good at controlling risk. They go get Medicare supplements and Medicare A and B because you're not going to tell someone that is a high net earner or even just middle class that they can't get something they already paid for. And at its core, that's what an Advantage plan really is, at least to me.
But a big problem is that people aren't being given that option.
They're not. They're not.
They're calling, they're going in, people are pushing the Advantage plan. You know, the real option is A and B or C.
Mm-hmm.
You get A and B,
Right.
then, yeah, well, you probably need a D. You might want to get a supplement. You know, you can get those things. But if you choose C, then that's its own world. But people aren't given the option of A and B or C up front. It's just which C do we get?
Mhm.
And that's being pushed from on high.
Right.
And even
Lots of
Medicare.
stuff.
Yeah.
And also this time of
And the
year,
more they get, the more they get, the more they get, then the more they start restricting. And then the accountants start coming in and saying these, and the actuaries start saying, well, this doesn't need that, and this doesn't need that, and all of that. But they want to get involved in our healthcare. You know, that's the biggest thing. People want to interject themselves in between us and our doctors. Right? Well, isn't that a dangerous place to be? Isn't that a dangerous place to be? Because when they start looking at their bottom line and then they start looking at numbers, because that's not calling the doctor and saying, does he really need this? I'm a professional too, and we can figure this out. But they're in there now. The hospitals are just as bad. They're doing the same thing. Hospitals like, we got patient. How do we milk this out?
Mhm.
Well, it's really good that there's trial attorneys out there suing them, because now they can play defensive medicine. You come in and go, oh, like, yeah, I got a little pain right here. Well, that's kind of close to your chest. We need this test and that test and that test. Because we cannot get sued if you leave here at all. You know, like, I'm 22 years old. Well, you might have a heart attack and it might be an arrhythmia. Who knows what it is? We're going to do everything we can. And when you leave, we're going to know that you're not dying. It's like, okay. You know, they're trying to play that game. Well, the insurance company's trying to play this game back, but who's suffering after all of it? It's us. And I'll say something else. Why was it? Because we didn't want to pay for our damn health care. The individual, I'm going to get on my soapbox. The individual consumer, and I've talked to them my whole life in insurance, I don't want to have to pay $10 when I go to the doctor. I mean, it used to be that I don't want to have to pay $500 deductible. I remember when you sold Major Medical when I first got in, $500 deductible. People freaked out when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to pay $500 a year for my hair. I want everything paid for me. I want everything covered for me. I don't want to have to pay for a prescription. I don't want to pay for anything. I want other people deciding what's good for me in my life. I want other people taking responsibility for me. I want someone to tell me what to do at work and pay me a flat amount, and I want them to give me insurance and that gives doctors and hospitals exactly what I can do in my life, as long as I don't have to understand or make any financial decisions or value decisions for myself. I am happy. And what do we get? A bunch of insurance companies and government people like sitting there, oh, they're going to give their power away.
Yeah.
And they all come in and fight for this power that we're giving away. And then they start trying to figure out how to monetize it the best, and they compete with it. But the real power wasn't us giving that away to people because we didn't want to understand our own finances, our own health, and our own decisions. So I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah, funny story. One of the first times I had to deal with that, I dealt with it very poorly. Someone was like, I want it free. I want everything free. They didn't qualify for Medicaid. It was just, I want a zero premium. I want to pay no copays or anything like that. And then finally, I was really poorly how I handled it. It was one of my first experiments with awkward silence on the phone. I said, well, you could always move to Canada. And they said, well, I don't want to. Their healthcare sucks. I went, yeah.
But it's free.
What do you want? Free isn't necessarily valuable. And they kind of stopped. And
That doctor's appointment you're going to get next February, you won't have to pay for it.
you won't have to pay for it. That's right.
Yeah.
There was a very awkward long silence. They went, huh. Well, what can we get here? It's like, well, back then it was the old Plan J's, and I mean, that's how old this is. I mean, they did that in 2010, and I ended up doing that. But it was really one of those things where you're not going to break someone out of that cycle of wanting free stuff politely. I mean, they're just inundated with free crap, and free stuff is usually crap.
You know what I think is funny? I think us as agents now that we're predisposed to that world, I can see like the questionings behind those advertisements. Like the one that's been getting me, I don't know recently why, but there's people who are just replacing their roofs in our neighborhood. And all those signs say free consultation, free consultation. I go, it's because they want to find something wrong.
That's right.
It's not because they actually want to consult you and offer you advice that is free. It's no, we want the right to see what's wrong.
Right.
Just like the $0 stuff. It's $0 upgrade, whatever it is. No, what's the catch?
It's just like the free medical test. I had a client, she went to a dentist, free cleaning and checkup, Well, what's going to happen? Oh, you need a deep cleaning. It's going to be $800. She called me and said, well, do I need this, friend? My teeth are fine, my gums are fine. I said, well, what's wrong with your regular dentist? What does he say? Well, he says, I'm fine. Well, go back to your regular dentist. I mean, they want to find stuff wrong with you. It's just like going to your mechanic and I want to get my car a complete checkup, tell me, go through it. They're going to come through with a laundry list of everything that needs to be done,
Well, on the note of finding things wrong, one of the things we find too, is at this time of the year, we're about 50-50 mix up in advantage plans. And out of those advantage plans, a majority of them are dual eligible people, because that's who's looking to change stuff and get stuff right now. It just is. But we run a very big risk, and this is, I've seen a lot of floors and a lot of agents fall into this, because this is kind of when you do a lot of that, and that is an advantage plan is the right thing for someone that's on Medicaid, because the state's paying for everything. Basically, you have a full-blown old school plan F or J, and then you also get dental and all this other stuff because it's a D-SNP. We fall into the model of going, okay, we know it's right for this person, and because we don't want to do something, we kind of go, well, advantage plans aren't bad. Well, in this instance, they're not, right? They're just not. That's a great deal because they're damn near indigent, right? But you have to be able to switch that mentality, especially like when we call the rural area, high net earners list that we have, right? We have all these other people. An advantage plan isn't the best thing for them. And you have to be able to spot that. Like you said earlier, Grip, finding out what's right for them. Me personally, if you're not on Medicaid, we're having a Medicare supplement conversation first. If you're on Medicaid and it's a Title 19, which is UQMB, I can't sell you a supplement.
Yeah, it's illegal.
It's illegal. But a lot of agents out there, and I'm not saying necessarily in here, we're really good about keeping our heads straight in this office because we're around each other all the time. But outside, those agents out there, they'll be writing advantage plans for most of the year. And then it comes to AEP and they get in front of supplement candidates. And they're like, well, Advantage Plan is still good. Well, no, not for this person. Just not. I mean, your life, yourself, your mom,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
What would you get her?
Supplement.
There you
But
go.
She budgeted for it.
Oh, what happens if she didn't budget it for it? What happens if she only made $1,300 or $1,400 a month? What would you get her?
High deductible.
There you go. So we know that there's a level at QMB where we go, that's Advantage plans, but we should be talking about supplement with
Yeah.
everybody
Well,
else.
let me ask you. Because I have my thoughts and I explain my thoughts, but
They're good thoughts, by the way.
do you leave somebody on A and B?
I'm with you on that one. I wouldn't want to, unless it's. That also kind of falls along the lines of something I'll talk about here in a second, but I just have that realistic conversation that's like, look, I don't care if, days 1 through 60, you're covered after you pay $1,500. I don't care, because guess what? You do get to go to MD Anderson, which is terrific. You get to cure that cancer, but at what cost for outpatient? Your whole entire monetary life.
Mm-hmm. That's a real thing.
And it's
too.
not as easy as just going, stay on A and B so you can go to MD Anderson. If this person's 66 and the only issue that they have is cancer and it gets treated within a year, you're still going to have that millions of dollars of the 20% left over that you just can't go, I'll just declare bankruptcy, or I'll die in a few years. It'll be fine. I'll pander to somebody else. That's the conversation I have to have with them, similar to kind of what Grip has. It's, look, you can choose your doctors, you can choose everything like this here, but you really need to find something besides just staying on A and B, because yes, you get the ease of network because these people love network, but for a lot of people, it's not about going to the doctor. It's about, what are my children going to be left with bills? What bills am I going to have?
But Jacob, that goes back to my original point.
Mhm.
Because when you have that conversation,
Mhm.
they're not talking about a zero premium plan anymore, period.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the whole point, is that agents out there, they'll go, it's free, and that's how I sell
yeah.
it.
No, the way we're conversing about it is, would you rather write them an Advantage plan or keep them on A and B?
And this is
That's
the
how
other
Grip
issue
brought
is
it up,
that
not the zero.
That's how Brandon
if you
brought it up.
have,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
no, but the context of it is that someone is medically qualified to get a supplement,
No.
right?
I would never,
No.
if I,
Right.
yes. I
So
would
that's the
never-
context of the conversation is, if you're already sick and Advantage plans are your only thing, that was my point too. It's like, well, when they get sick, then I'll move them to an Advantage plan.
Right.
But if you're already healthy, you're choosing to either spend $0 one way or $0 the other way, right? And you're a healthy person, I'm going to go with A and B.
No, I am going to,
Advantage.
I'm going to talk to them until I am blue in the face that
Right.
you will pay your GD $40 a month for your high deductible
Right.
plan, because you do not want to have that 20% exposure. Shut
Exactly.
your mouth and pay your $40
That's it.
Quit using your brain.
and quit using your brain. I mean, I've gotten to that point.
Right. Because that's the whole thing. At that point, me personally, I think I'm doing damage to them.
Exactly.
No, I am.
You're absolutely right.
So that's
You're
why,
absolutely
that's the
right.
whole context of
And
that
you look at the
conversation.
level of damage that has been done to the populace with these advertisements. We hear it all the time. Well, I still have my Medicare paying 20%, and they're on an Advantage plan. They've been told it's the same thing. It's just a zero. I mean, stuff we hear, it's like, wow.
Medicare, and
I
by the
mean,
way,
we've been so misled.
by law, Medicare Advantage plans are only required to provide the actuarial equivalent of Medicare A and B by itself.
Correct.
Some of them may have extra benefits, which usually are the D-SNPs.
Mhm.
So why would I do that? Especially if I'm going to get sick in July, I'm going to sign up with an Advantage plan later that will put a cap on it, hopefully after I've started a treatment regimen or have a plan going. But let's be completely honest, you're going to have a hell of a time getting the diagnosis, just like you encountered with your folks over there, where they had, you know what, I don't care if you get mad at me and go to another Advantage plan because I'm going to deny this MRI or make it a living hell to process it, because I want you to leave before those big medical bills hit. Because the name of the game for me as an Advantage plan provider is get federal dollars, keep federal dollars,
Right.
right? And I only get to keep it if I don't spend it, and I don't have to give it back if I don't spend it.
Yeah.
So where are we at? Well, for me, the risk mitigation part of someone who is healthy and is not in a situation where they have to go and say, hey, you have stuff that's coming up. Well, A and B by itself is decent insurance. Yes, it can be scary as hell. And if you go to doctors, which most doctors accept assignment for those preventative things, you're not going to get an excess charge. If you get sick, you better have a supplement in place. But if you don't, then we can look at something else. But to get people indoctrinated in this idea of managed care like that, when there's Medicare by itself, which is, it's demonstrably better for people that aren't on Medicaid. I mean, it really is.
Oh, yeah.
Then I've become such a weak salesperson where I can't overcome $30 a month.
Let's be real, $40.
$40.
$40 a month is the lowest I've seen it.
I've seen 38 something.
I've written a 32.
Yeah,
You've seen
there
30?
you go.
Oh, man, where you? I want to hang out with you.
So,
You go
but that's
back
the
to-
problem.
you go
Then
back
I
10 years
suck as a
ago, it was like
salesperson.
25, 27.
Yeah.
So I mean, how over 10-year span, it's gone up maybe $10.
Right.
bucks.
And by the way-
here's my thing with $0 mindset here. Me and Grip were actually talking about that this morning. We have an interview today with a guy who seems like he would just absolutely, he's very driven, absolutely kill it. He does not have any Medicare experience. He doesn't even have a license.
Good.
But Grip brought that up to me and he was like, is this something that would concern you? That would turn him away? Like, should we get him his license for whatever? I said, those are the people that I want.
Right.
I don't want Joe Schmo, who's been doing it for 15 or 20 years, to come in, thinks he knows everything just because he can flip $0 plans like no other.
By the way, where is he at after 15 years
Exactly.
of flipping $0
Because
plans?
that person
He's
is
asking for a job here.
that person is not going to ever change their ways. They know how to sell one thing and one thing only that has no premium attached to it. I would rather have the guy that does not have a license, who does not know what part A and B is, does not know anything about it, because guess what? Those people on the phone are closers. And do you know why? Because they don't know where the hell they're going to go with it.
Yeah.
And the people see that
That's why we're
over the
bringing them
phone.
in. That's why we're bringing
People
them
see
in.
that over the phone.
Yeah.
They know when you have an agenda. They know when you already know what you want to sell them.
Yeah.
If you are just absent-minded with it, enjoy it with the person. But if you don't have that to, oh, I'm gonna get you $0 plan. From the minute you pick the phone up, people sense that.
Right.
And for this case here with this guy who has no Medicare experience, but is very driven individual, I can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah.
It's going to be one where it's like, you don't understand this too, but you are very valuable in this space.
Yeah.
Because you do not have the preconceived notions that a lot of agents out there do.
Right.
Because if you
Which is a
lead with
handicap.
a zero premium plan, MAPD, and then the person says, well, do I have to have referrals? Because I don't really want that. Well, it's hard to backtrack and say, oh, well, actually, let's talk about supplements. And, they'll see that you held out on them, the better product.
Right.
They can tell. once they start
Well, a lot of it too, if it doesn't cost anything, it's easy to walk away from as well.
Because you don't have any perceived value.
There's
Right.
there's no
Right.
value, but you're not in it for anything.
Right. But the irony is that
Yeah.
it's harder to sell free to free.
Yeah.
That it's hard to sell someone who has something for free, something free.
Because
Right.
it's not, this is the point, when people go, oh, well, it's free and that's why I sell it, then we're not selling.
Yeah.
You're not selling.
You're not selling.
You're not conveying value, and that's what sales is.
You're
Sales is
valuing, yes, exactly.
Sales
right.
is facilitating a solution that's the best thing for the client while establishing value in that
You're
solution.
making a recommendation.
Value.
Yes.
You're creating a thought process in their mind too, something from, you're bringing them up to a higher level. A real salesperson brings them up to a higher level of thinking
Right.
than they were in before, creates a thought process in their head by which they make decisions.
Right.
And it's free, it's simple. But I think it's interesting what you're saying, you can't sell free to free, and that's what you were saying is, because they're not invested, they don't know why they have it.
Right.
The only thing they're doing is not paying.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all they know is I don't have to pay, and you can't come in and say, well, this you also don't have to pay. So switch. Well, why should I switch?
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's the other process is that they're
You're gonna get better healthcare. I don't know what that
I don't
means.
care.
I don't know what any of that means. I've never thought about healthcare. I didn't even know
Yep.
insurance.
What is so funny, just to
I just don't want to pay anything, and they sign me up.
I have this right here. This is my note for today. People don't, excuse my French, people don't give a shit about $500 more in debt.
They don't.
They don't.
They don't.
So stop saying, why didn't they get the plan? It had $500 more of dental care. Then people haven't even been to a dentist in 4 years.
Right.
They don't.
They don't care. Yes.
Right.
And by the way, here's a good question for the group. What's easier to sell? right? A G plan to a G plan with only a $10 savings per month, or a G plan to a G plan with a $50 per month savings. What's easier to sell?
The latter.
The $50 a month?
Yeah.
No, it's
Why?
really not, because they don't believe they're getting the same product for that amount of difference if you're just selling on price. You literally have to sit there and walk them through the whole process and reaffirm over and over and over again.
But
that
Frank,
this
that's a
is the
trick
exact same
question
thing.
because it is easier to sell if they know what they're doing. If we have created through the script,
Yeah.
the reason that
But we're talking about
switching
selling
is
for
that
price to
you
price.
already have the best care.
Right, but that's through
possible.
our scripting and that's through our training.
Oh,
But price to price,
Yeah.
people don't shop on that amount of savings. In fact, they don't believe it's the same product. We have to reiterate that about 4 or 5 or 15 times in our process if we're going from a G to a G. And that's also why bundling works so well for us, is because we'll find a $50 or $60 savings, and then we're like, they're not going to buy on that. They're going to get so
Yes.
scared that they're losing something that they're going to freak out and go, you know what, I'll just love Blue Cross Blue Shield. And they do it all the time. But when we go, by the way, we get to also increase your coverage by giving you dental and another $15,000 of final expense, and you still save $10 a month, they sign up left and right because they go, that gap in difference isn't scary to them. They know they're not losing anything at that point. So that's, again, the misnomer. People go, well, I can't compete against a free plan. People at their core understand that they're losing something, like if it's just that much of a better savings.
So when they say I can't compete against a free plan, that means I can't compete.
Right.
I am not a good enough salesperson
That's
to
right.
compete against something free.
That's right.
Because I don't have a big enough view of the world
Yep.
to know that this is anything more than a cost transaction. I am afraid to give value to people, show them value, and ask for money for return.
That's right.
That's what they're saying.
I think with it also going back to your G to G, that's $10 or $50. I think the biggest difference I've gone was probably from about 430-ish down to about 160 or so.
Mhm.
And I tell you what, that's a 3-hour conversation.
Oh,
Right.
of course.
And
That's
the
different.
reason why is because it's not only do they fear, wow, this premium is so much different, I must be losing so many things. No, it's they don't want to feel stupid.
Right.
Right, they'll
That's
hang on
the
to that.
root of all of this. The
Yeah.
free,
Yeah.
you don't want to feel like you are not educated enough to make a correct decision.
Mm-hmm.
And so for them, it's not a look, you have to do this. It's a G to G. It's more of a look, this is just a situation that we're in and we're going to talk through it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have a human to human conversation. We're going to find out what's best for you. But a lot of people are just so afraid of, I don't want to be put at fault because I didn't do my research, is what it comes down to. From my experience, from my people that I've helped, they just don't want to feel like they let themselves down.
Yeah, they'll continue throwing good money after bad because they don't want to believe that this whole time they've been overpaying by so much because they didn't have the knowledge they needed. So sometimes they will just turn down thousands of dollars in savings a year because they
They will
want to hold
self-justify.
on to that no, there's no way that I've been
Yep.
bamboozled this whole time.
They will self-justify their own
This
decision.
is one of the biggest things. This is actually something Zig Ziglar, the great Zig Ziglar said, turned his career around in sales. He was struggling in sales when he learned this one thing. It says in Secrets Closing the Sale, is you have to help your client save face.
Yes.
If you are replacing one plan with another, you have to help them realize that they didn't do something bad by having what they have.
Mm-hmm.
And the simple thing like with the med stuff is, Miss Jones, this is a great plan you have with United Healthcare. It's, when you were looking at this was absolutely the best thing, good options, and it's taking good care of you now. But as we all know, things change, and now you have an opportunity to get something just as good or better for a little less money, and you also have a local agent, or you have me as your agent, et cetera, et cetera. So just like you made a good decision in the past, as things change now, you're making a good decision now. Something like that, or in this case, or what was it, $430? Well, no one's told you that these policies go up over time if you don't switch them, and the average person has to look at it every at least 2 or 3 years to make sure that they're shopping around. And you happen to be in a block that got closed out, so the people who have left are the only people left in it are sick. So you're trapped in a bad block. And it's fortunate that you got online and started looking, or you did whatever it took to start looking, because now you have an opportunity to shop around, just like you did when you got this. This was great for you.
And I'll tell people to help them save face. Look, you knew something was wrong. You felt something was wrong. That's why you were looking. Why? You knew something. You had the, intelligence right, and you were right.
Why do you want to change? And I'll tell you. One of my favorite things that I hear is, I really like you. Will you be my agent?
Mm.
And a lot of times it's just, they want to talk to somebody that they know they're going to get taken care of. And what you sell may cost more money than what they were spending then, but just to have the backup support, knowing that they can call somebody that's going to make sure they have the best level of coverage and take care of them and answer their phone calls and answer their problems. So yes, it's not about price,
And also to reward them, to say, just real quick, like, that feeling that you had, that feeling of doubt, I'm lucky enough to tell you, you're right. Your doubts are absolutely correct. And here's how we're gonna fix it.
Well, and we also have to, as an industry, we have to stop looking at our clients as just clients and we're salespeople, because we're all the same. These are the people who are just like you and me, and we are subject to those same thought processes like Jacob had. Goes, well, I just think it's not right, because we do train ourselves to believe in what we do, or we'll justify our own actions or inactions. And that's been one of the biggest hurdle that in training agents has been, you will run into agents that will justify everything that they're doing that hurts them over and over and over again. And ultimately, you're not going to break them of it, but you can sit there and try to go, okay, let's talk about why you think that way. Let's go into that. But that's also the same conversation with our clients. Let's have an in-depth conversation about more than just a product with them. Let's lead them down a path. Let's get to know them as human beings and people and see why they're thinking that way. And sometimes it's just, I don't want to feel bad for making that decision or sticking with it. I mean, that's it. So.
You're right, though. It is the same way in sales where someone will be at the bottom of the board and they'll justify it any way that they can because they can't admit that they're doing something wrong or stuck in their ways.
Or they can't ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Pride is a pain in the ass.
People need to, the young people in this generation.
You.
Here we go.
Everybody. Jacob Crotty is a 30-year-old who is the reincarnation of Hank Hill.
29, thank you. But just learn to swallow your pride. I mean, even people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you can do this for X amount of years. Just because you've done it one way, that's not always the right way. It's not going to work every way. But just have the ability to understand there's a pattern. There's a reason that the most successful people on the floor are in here right now. It's because they do swallow their pride and ask for help. If you have something going on, ask somebody else, hey, can you just listen to this real quick? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? You have to be constantly wanting to evolve yourself and learn more. Or if not, then you're going to do like Victoria said. When you are down, you're going to just find, none of it's my fault.
No,
it can't possibly. I did 12 last week. It can't be my fault I'm at 0 on Wednesday.
Right.
You
No.
also have to have humility and be willing to learn from people who are maybe not considered not quite your equals. I can't tell you how many times like the sales support staff they're like, can I tell you like a better way to do this? Or I'll go to them and, and I absolutely can and want to learn from anybody and everyone, regardless of their position.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't take offense to anything that any advice somebody has to give me. And I think you even being 29 3/4.
December, yeah.
Okay.
29 going
There
on
you go.
55.
You're so wise beyond your years
Wise
because it
beyond
takes
your
people 2 and 3 times your age. Sometimes they never learn it, that, to have some humility and always be learning, never be too good to get back to basics or square one, or reevaluate what you're doing. And you've learned a lot.
There's
So
another
there's a lot.
thing you can call it stagnant.
Yeah, I agree. Well, there's a lot of people that started at this place that are not here anymore, not because we had to let them go, but because they could not get out of their own way. They were the ones that were very, very talented. And they come in coming in hot, and they start getting zeros, and they start blaming this, and they start accusing that. And these people in this room, go to them and say, well, have you tried B? Have you tried asking questions? Have you tried asking for help? Have you tried listening to your calls? Oh, well, no, it's this, and this.
Or
Well,
people who have good advice won't go to them because they know they don't want to hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you here to help people and make sales? Or are you here to justify that you're perfect?
Right.
I mean, that's like literally what the challenge that we have in business on all the way around is you come in and say, as an owner, I come in and go, hey, what are we doing in this department? How can we make this better? And it's like, we're doing the best we can and everything's good and everything's fine. It's like, okay, yeah, I know. That's why I'm in here, because things are going good.
Yeah.
But like the idea is you come into work and say, where are the problems? Where are the ways we can improve and get better and better and better? And I learned that from making sales is, you make a sale, you say what I do right and what I do wrong. You miss a sale, you say what I do right and what I do wrong. You're constantly evaluating and trying to improve, right? And so, like that's it. The people who, that's as we're hiring and all that, that's the number one thing you got to look at is coaching. Well, dedication, persistency, and then teachability.
Mhm.
That's it. If you're willing to learn. It doesn't even mean humbling yourself, though.
Yeah.
It's just not
It
an
doesn't even mean
overpowering
humbling
ego.
yourself, because it's just admitting that you're not perfect and you're not like God.
We
You're
can't
being
have an
receptive.
overpowering ego.
You're being receptive, and the coachability, you're being receptive to saying, hey, it's not that I'm doing anything right or doing anything wrong. It's how am I going to get better?
Well, and people that don't open themselves up to actual real critiquing and valid criticism, they're just weak.
I mean, it's hard to say, but Frank,
That's
you're
it.
even learning stuff every day.
Of course.
And I think it
So
shows
Frank
Of
is
course.
still walking in, asking questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
people at the top are here and open
likes
to
hearing that.
learning things and all
Right.
the time. And I think that is a good example from the top.
Yeah.
That, yeah, even as high up as you are, you can still learn things and you should still learn things. You're
Yes.
open to learning things. And
Can I be candid for a second? So I just started in the
No, you're
recruiting.
not allowed to be candid.
Okay.
Right.
So I just started a recruiting department, started, working on bringing in some good talent, blah, blah, blah. So I go to my first meeting and
Did you just blah, 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 good talent?
would you just yell?
Yeah,
at
yeah,
that?
yeah, expertise in field.
I'm trying to get to the point of the message. So anyway, I go to my
Medicare.
first leadership meeting and I'm like, I organize, we're doing this, we're doing that. And Brandon looks at me, he's like, you don't have to justify your job. We're just here to figure out how to make it better. And I'm like, oh, like it just blew my mind.
But you're so used to
I'm
that.
so used to like being a hard, diligent worker, doing all this stuff. Like, look at this, like this is what we're doing. He's like, I already know that. Like, you don't have to justify your job, dude. Like, how can we help you? What can we do? And it's like, what do I do? So it was very new, but also like extremely
It's
refreshing
a lot of reprogramming.
because and I'll be able to figure out, but it's like, oh, so we're actually doing it for realsies. Like we're
Not
gonna
just for
like
show, yeah.
that
You
we're
want
gonna
to
figure it
know
out.
this kind of goes on. One of my pet peeves, and this is hard to say, and it might be a character flaw of mine, but it's employees or people who work with me who want me to praise them. Like, but I mean, I have some smart ass answers. Like your praise comes every Thursday, right?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
direct deposit right into your bank account and all that. But the truth is, like, you're my coworker.
Right.
We're both trying to get good talent in here, right? We're trying to do some things. So let's figure it out together. What resources do you need? What ideas do I have? What can we do and all that? And like, you should know, you don't need me to tell you did a good job. You put a sale on the board. She was agent of the month. Congratulations.
Right.
We know what that is, right?
Yeah.
You bring in someone you bring in good talent and they start succeeding. You know what that is. You don't need me to tell you.
Right.
You should know yourself.
Yeah.
And you
just come
should
in
not
here
put
and say,
yourself
"Brady,
in.
Did I do good? Did I do good? I'm like.
You shouldn't put
look at
yourself in a
myself, yeah.
situation where my opinion matters, because my opinion, I'm pretty emotional if you know me. I'm up and down.
Right.
And I might be distracted and you could be killing it and I'm like not noticing.
Right.
Right. So but that's part of the culture. And I think other people, business leaders out there, like, I don't know if you're not in it for your ego. Well, I've seen managers come in. We think you're doing good. This is what we would like to see for you. I think that you're like, whoa, you're talking about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not talking about the person who you're trying to build up and make something with, right?
Right.
And it's like, if we sit here and we look at the hill together and we decide how to charge, now we got something. And yeah, I have a lot of talents that can help, but I have a lot of weaknesses. I need y'all to shore up for me too. Right. And so that's how we figure it out together.
Well, yeah, and also you run the risk of if you're always in there trying to praise or trying to say, it can be seen as co-opting their success and what they went through to get to that point.
Isn't that what people are good at in the organization?
They're really good at that. Oh my God, it's so annoying. But that's the whole thing, is that you're actually taking from somebody. You know, you don't want to ever be in a position where you take from your guys.
Well,
ever.
Being an experienced leader at different organizations.
Mm-hmm.
The subtext of all that is really justifying what you're doing so they leave you alone.
Right.
Now you come into this place, the usual is, here's my justification of what I'm doing, so please don't bother me. It's the exact opposite. It's like, I want to know what's going on because it's my business. I want to know, like, please tell me. You don't have to hide anything. I don't give a crap about all these things. I know you're doing your job. You don't have to. I want to know how we, not you, do better, how we can do better.
That's it.
That's what's exciting.
It's the difference in managing and coaching. It's the difference in, ego and team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like, really, not like, oh, we're all going to say we're partners or teammates and all this other stuff, but actually treat each other like teammates and
Ministry of culture.
and understanding that, it's not the action, it's the realization, the understanding that we're all in the same ship. We're all heading a certain way. We all have different skill sets and we all need each other a certain way. Mm-hmm. And like, to me, business is that riddle. It's that riddle every day of, here's this better future up here. How do we get there? And what can you do and what can I do? And how can we work together on that? You really just. Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt your riff, but I wanted to ask, because Victoria was on the phone with her first solo when we started the meeting, and she actually just closed her first solo all the way through her own sale.
How'd it feel?
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
I just was really curious. I was like, yeah, that's really good.
I did.
Yeah.
I think we can wind this up here. I have one very, very important thing to say going back, and y'all say what you need, and I want to close out with my very important thing. Y'all got anything else?
No.
I've got one quick note here. Just for some reason, I thought about this last week and I wrote it down here. Treat sales like a red light. If you try and beat traffic by turning too soon, you're still going to be at the same light when that light turns green.
Right.
There was a guy over here that I still can't believe he pulled out in front of 1431 traffic coming out of the little light there by bushes. And I go, what are you risking it for? To just be ahead of that one car that was right there, because you're going to hit that light. Mm-hmm. That's the same way with sales. When you try to cut that corner or go too quick to get it done, guess what? You're going to be at that same exact point.
You ever notice the people who are always doing that, like always have a fender falling off of their car?
Right.
Yeah. I was like, come on, buddy. Like,
There was a study done where you had two people, one was driving 10 miles an hour faster, going to the same destination, and it was like a course of like 5 minutes.
Right.
It was 5 minutes.
Or there's also the lane switching test they did, where they're like, some people that try to continually maneuver in lane switching in traffic end up going slower than people that just stay in their own lane.
Yeah, because
I believe it.
Because they make the decision too late.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'll tell you. No surprise here. I drive like a grandpa.
No surprise.
Set the speed limit. Set cruise control. Could even go into Liberty Hill in the morning at 6 a.m. to drop that dog off. It's 45. I hit set 45.
Yelling at kids the whole way. Damn teenagers.
And Michelle, she hates it. She's like, we were going so slow. And I'm like, we're actually going the set limit by the state of Texas. For keep safe.
Which, by the way, is 75 miles an hour.
But it's the one. We get to the same destination at the same time. No matter if you're going 55. I have not. I mean, it's been maybe 7-8 years since I got hit. I didn't do that.
Yeah. So that's fantastic. Yeah.
All right. I want to say one thing about our role as an agent and the decisions people are making and all that. Someone I know very well found out that they had cancer last week. And you know what they're doing this week? They're getting their tests run. They're getting the results. And then they're gonna make decisions of anywhere they want to go in the world to beat it the best way they possibly can, however they want. The reason why is because they have a Medicare Supplement Plan F and traditional Medicare A and B. They are not calling their doctors, they're not calling their insurance company,
Right.
they're not worried about anything else. They have a 100% freedom to, without worry and fear, to go beat this freaking thing.
Right.
Yeah.
If you don't think that matters, you shouldn't be in the insurance business. That's what it's about.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right.
All right, guys. Be sure to go over to insurasales.com and sign up for InsureLink if you're watching this right now. It's a great forum for people to actually, it's just for agents, by agents. You're not going to get recruited out of it or anything crazy like that, but we're able to talk about real concepts and
If you want to
share.
get recruited, go to medicare.com/agents.
Right.
If this resonates with you, you want to work in a place like this, like we need you. We have no shortage of good people here. I think you kind of know who we are. So if it's interesting, or call 844-MY-GURUS and try to close someone and come to work here.
Right. So you guys have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow.